There's also plenty of movement activity in the transfer market with that first bonus transfer window closing on Tuesday. Mark McAdam is back, and we've got some new news regarding a potential incoming for Arsenal.
Yeah, huge news for Arsenal fans.
The summer transfer window is always filled with intrigue, suspense, and speculation, but few moves captured the imagination of Arsenal fans quite like the signing of Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace. His £67.5 million switch to the Emirates Stadium was not just a routine acquisition, it was the culmination of months of scouting, negotiations, and careful planning by Mikel Arteta and Edu, as the club sought to elevate the creative potential of their midfield and attacking units. Yet what made the deal even more fascinating was that Eze's arrival came at the expense of two other high-profile targets, players who had also been tracked by Arsenal for months and who were considered at different points to be favourites for the role. In the end, Eze emerged as the standout, beating out Wolves winger Pedro Neto and PSG's versatile Dutch playmaker Xavi Simons to become Arsenal's marquee signing of the window. This story is as much about why Eze was chosen as it is about why the other two were left behind, and the intricate web of circumstances, performances, and strategic decisions that led to Arsenal making him the centerpiece of their summer. For Arsenal, the search for an additional creative force had been underway for some time. Mikel Arteta had built a side that came tantalizingly close to the Premier League title, pushing Manchester City deeper into the season than anyone else could manage, but falling short when squad depth and injuries caught up to them. Bukayo Saka carried a massive burden on the right wing, Ødegaard orchestrated brilliantly from midfield, and Gabriel Martinelli provided speed and energy down the left. Yet the team often struggled when faced with compact, low-block defenses, where moments of individual brilliance or flair were required to unlock stubborn opponents. That is where Eze's name began to rise higher and higher on Arsenal's shortlist. His ability to glide past defenders, pick passes in tight spaces, and carry the ball through midfield zones made him a uniquely attractive option. However, Arsenal were careful not to put all their eggs in one basket. Edu and Arteta had at least three realistic options lined up, each bringing a different skill set to the table. Pedro Neto was arguably the first name that came into consideration. The Wolves winger had been on Arsenal's radar since as far back as 2020, admired for his blistering pace, dazzling dribbles, and capacity to stretch defenses. In many ways, Neto would have mirrored Saka's profile on the opposite flank, providing Arsenal with dual-wing dynamism. His left-footedness on the right side gave him the ability to cut inside and shoot, while also maintaining the width that Arteta's system often requires. During his standout seasons at Wolves, Neto had terrorized full-backs, drawing comparisons to some of the league's most dangerous wide forwards. Yet his Achilles heel was his fitness record. Over the last few seasons, Neto had suffered multiple injury setbacks that derailed his momentum and left doubts about his ability to consistently contribute across an entire season. Wolves, aware of his potential but also of his fragility, still valued him highly, slapping a price tag in excess of £70 million on him. Arsenal had to weigh whether such an investment was wise given the risk involved. They could not afford another case of a high-value signing spending more time in the treatment room than on the pitch, especially when their aspirations were to compete on all fronts, domestic and European. Meanwhile, across Europe, Xavi Simons was emerging as another tantalizing possibility. The Dutch international, who had been a sensation at youth level with Barcelona and later Paris Saint-Germain, had begun to fulfill his immense promise during loan spells in the Bundesliga. With RB Leipzig, Simons showcased his versatility, playing across midfield and forward lines, scoring goals and creating opportunities with flair that belied his age. At just 21, he was seen as one of the brightest young talents in Europe, someone who could be molded into a superstar with the right environment. Arsenal monitored him closely, impressed by his fearlessness, creativity, and technical proficiency. His dribbling in tight spaces and his ability to link play made him an appealing candidate to supplement Ødegaard or even play in wider roles when required. However, the complexity of his contract situation made things messy. PSG were reluctant to let him go permanently, preferring to loan him out again, while Leipzig were keen on keeping him longer. For Arsenal, who needed a permanent addition to build around rather than a temporary fix, the uncertainty surrounding Simons' availability made negotiations far from straightforward. It was in this context that Eberechi Eze rose to the top of Arsenal's list. The England international had enjoyed a breakout campaign at Crystal Palace, carrying the team on multiple occasions and establishing himself as one of the most exciting playmakers in the Premier League. His performances were not only statistically impressive but also visually captivating, gliding runs through midfield, deft touches that opened up defenses, and clutch goals that rescued points for Palace when they needed them most. Unlike Neto, Eze had demonstrated greater reliability in terms of fitness, recovering strongly from an Achilles injury earlier in his career and since proving resilient. Unlike Simons, he was immediately available for a permanent transfer, with Palace open to cashing in on him if the right offer came along. Arteta was particularly drawn to Eze's adaptability. He could operate as an attacking midfielder behind the striker, drift wide into left-wing roles, or even play in deeper central positions when required. His comfort on the ball under pressure and his ability to break lines with dribbles provided a new dimension that Arsenal had lacked. Moreover, his experience in the Premier League meant there would be little adaptation time required. He could slot into the team and contribute from day one. As Arsenal weighed their options, Eze's profile ticked more and more boxes, and it became clear that he represented the ideal combination of talent, availability, and readiness. The negotiations with Crystal Palace were never going to be easy. Palace valued Eze highly, recognizing him as their talisman and the centerpiece of their team. Yet Arsenal's determination and financial commitment eventually turned the tide. By putting forward a £67.5 million bid, structured with achievable add-ons, they made an offer that Palace could not refuse. At the same time, Arsenal had to fend off competition from other top clubs. Tottenham were known admirers, while Manchester City had also kept tabs on Eze's development. But Arsenal's project, their clear vision under Arteta, and their ability to promise Eze a starring role proved decisive. For Neto, the collapse of the move was bittersweet. He remained a player of immense ability, and Arsenal's interest was genuine, but his injury record ultimately cost him the chance to make the leap at this stage. For Xavi Simons, the reality was that Arsenal could not wait for PSG and Leipzig to resolve their tug-of-war. They needed certainty, and Eze offered it. Thus, the path was cleared for the Palace midfielder to step into the spotlight. Eze's signing was met with jubilation among Arsenal fans, who saw him not only as an upgrade to the squad but also as a player whose style fit perfectly with the club's traditions of flair and attacking football. The thought of him linking with Ødegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus excited supporters, conjuring visions of fluid, unpredictable attacks that could dismantle even the toughest defenses. Eze himself expressed his delight at the move, describing it as a dream come true and an opportunity he had worked tirelessly for throughout his career. For a player who had once been released by Millwall as a teenager and had to rebuild his path through QPR before shining at Palace, the journey to Arsenal was a testament to his resilience and belief in his talent. As the dust settled on the transfer, it became clear that Arsenal had pulled off a major coup. they had beaten not only rival clubs but also navigated through their own internal shortlist to arrive at the best possible choice. Neto and Simons remain outstanding talents who may yet find themselves in Arsenal colours one day, but in the summer of 2025, it was Eberechi Eze who emerged victorious, stepping into the Emirates as the man chosen to take Arsenal's creativity to the next level.